Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. If you're watching live, thank you for dropping in. Or if you're watching this video on demand, thanks for checking out the archive. I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to subscribe and follow the channel, and catch me the next time I stream live. So, let me just get set up. Let me know if the microphone is too quiet, please. Should be okay. Always important to check. It's currently freezing cold in the UK, so hopefully I don't turn into an ice cube by the end of the evening, but we shall endure and try and get some work done. Yeah, so if you were here last week, you'll know that I was working on some hands, these hands, and I can show you where we got to. So we started off with a sketch, and we started to add some base tones, base colours. We focused on the shadows to begin with, building those up, and then we started adding some of the light, some of the warmer tones, and since then I did a little bit more work. I adjusted the colour a little bit, as you can see, a little bit more green in the background, a bit more warmth in the highlights, and fixed a couple of little issues with some of the details and stuff like that. Not much, but here we are at the moment, as you may be able to see. I zoom in. I've planned out some of the wrinkles, so I've sketched these lines in. You can see them clearly at the top there. So we'll be painting those in properly and blending everything in. So we're going to start at the top, focusing on this one first. Probably going to go finger by finger, literally, and then shift over to the other hand, and then do that. I'm going to try and get it done tonight. I should be able to. So I will just jump in and get on with it. Just going to keep using my very soft, smooth brushes for now, and then I might play with some bit of thicker brushes later. But for right now, the plan is to correct any of the kind of anatomical issues that I got wrong or didn't finish last time. And you know, get it to a place where there's a nice balance between realism and, you know, whatever looks good. Sometimes something that is accurate or precise to real life isn't necessarily going to look best or going to look right. Sometimes we need to exaggerate something or tweak something just a little bit and stray from the reference. And that's fine. I tend to use the reference as a starting point, as a guide, and then you can then exaggerate and as much as you wish, as you know, personal preference sort of thing. If you want to be super realistic, then you can be a little bit more accurate, and if you want to be more stylized and exaggerated, then you can go crazy if you want. It's entirely up to you. But for me, I guess I like to I enjoy realism, but I enjoy fantasy, so I kind of like a balance between the two, so it kind of looks a little bit more kind of painterly and fantastic realism, where it's not trying to be necessarily believed as being real. It's got a sense of stylization to it, so. But we'll see how it turns out. Hello, welcome to the stream. Here we go again. Should be here for the next 2 to 3 hours. And my goal is to spend 15 minutes per finger. If I'm going to get it done in 2 to 3 hours, I need to spend about 15 minutes. Refining each finger. I'm not usually that strict, really, but for the benefit of the stream, not dragging on too long and me getting distracted and stuff. I'll try and keep fairly organised. So you can see I'm painting over where I've put my sketch lines. And I quite like this kind of process where you paint everything and like blend it in, that sort of thing, and then you sketch over it again. Don't be shy about sketching over your paintwork, because you can always blend it in again. I find it helps bring some structure back into whatever it is you're painting. But yeah, sometimes there is that reaction of like, oh, I've made it ugly again now because I've put lines all over it. But you got to remember that, you know, an artwork isn't finished until it's finished, so it doesn't need to look pretty every step of the way. It's a work in progress, you know. So do whatever you need to do in order to help yourself get there. quite so long though. And for those of you who are new, yes, I am using a reference. A couple of references actually. I'm not pulling it entirely from thin air. But yeah, I am just using it as a guide, as a reference. I'm not trying to copy it really. I've already exaggerated the colours somewhat to make it look a little bit more interesting. I'm trying to avoid it looking, these lines looking too, you know, perfect. I want them to be painterly, so because otherwise they'll look like cracks in the skin, and it'll get too fiddly as well. So I'm just trying to use a round brush and not be too fiddly with it. And like I said last week, look for shapes rather than lines. A painter tends to paint in shapes rather than line work. So kind of think of it as a collection of shapes that come together to create an image. You know, it's like a group of shapes that happens to look like something. If that makes sense. That's the beauty of artwork, you know, where up close it can look like a mess of brushstrokes and blobs of colour, but when you look at it further away, it all kind of merges together and turns into something recognisable. So I'm trying to like make the most of that, and you know, not lose sight of that. Remember to celebrate the fact that it is hand-drawn drawing of a hand. And yeah, not get too hung up on, you know, fiddly details that really don't matter whether they are exactly correct or not, you know. I used to do that a lot. Just get, you know, carried away with thinking things needed to look exactly the same as the reference, but it's not true, not really. Precision is important, you know, like perspective and scale and that sort of thing. Getting those reasonably correct is important, but the tiny details, you know, no one's going to know one way or the other. It's not going to make it look bad if you paint it slightly differently, the details. No one's going to know any different, like I said, and, you know, who's to say it won't look better? So that's what I mean by saying you can stray from the reference somewhat. You can do whatever you want, really. Do whatever you feel looks best and feels best. Otherwise, you may end up getting into like a spiral of just, you know, obsessing over everything, and you kind of get frustrated with it and stop having fun. to be refining the lighting a little bit tonight as well. Just want to get this right. This is an example of one of those details that is actually quite, not necessarily important, but it's nice to get it right, because the folds in the skin here are particularly interesting in the reference. So I kind of want to spend a bit of time getting that. A little bit of light up the top there. Thought I'd go on. Also, it's important to remember that a curved form never has a sharp outline, because it's curving and moving away from you, it's rolling away from you. So you're not seeing a sharp edge as it rotates around away from you. So these fingers wouldn't have like a crisp, sharp edge. They'd be slightly blurry. That's why I'm kind of blending them into the background colour just a little bit. Especially in the shadow areas, the darker areas. I tend to make shadow areas blurrier and softer. Because you can't pinpoint the details as much with your eyes because it's darker. It's receding into the darkness, so I like to soften it and blend it more. And then in the highlights and the area, the focus areas, you can be a little bit sharper. And also, if whatever you're painting has a sharp edge, like the more right-angled the edge is, the sharper it will look. Versus, like I was saying, with a curved edge like the like the fingers where they're curving away, they will be softer. Deciding what colour to make the nails. The reference has a nail varnish on, like a nude peach colour nail varnish, but don't know if I want to go with that or change it. One thing I would add, considering we're talking about like essentially makeup with nail varnish and stuff, but if you're going to be drawing a lot of female characters that are, that would be wearing makeup, maybe they're more, modern day characters or whatever, pay attention to what makeup looks like. Just because you don't wear makeup isn't an excuse to not know how it works, or not know, what the styles are, sort of thing, and what looks good, what a sort of more modern, contemporary style of makeup would look like. Because it's just like everything, you need to pay attention to what things look like and how they work, even if you don't use them yourself or whatever it would be. It's our job as an artist to soak in as much information as possible. Right, I've spent too long on that finger. Great. So let's move on. Thumb, rather. Right, well this light needs to come further down. I painted it too high up before. So that needs to come further around. Let me just adjust my reference. And I'm not sure why I didn't finish the lighting on this. I guess I ran out of time. But this is way too dark here. Like I said last week, sometimes you kind of miss... You kind of miss glaringly obvious things because you're so busy trying to look at all of it all at once that certain things kind of slip through. But yeah, I've adjusted the resolution and the bitrate a little bit, so it's possible that they were set too high, which was causing problems and making my streaming software sort of freeze. Which would explain why I wasn't getting any notifications of it going down, because it just froze rather than, you know, if it was an issue with YouTube, then I would probably get some kind of alert through the streaming software. But as it was the issue with Streamlabs, it kind of just froze and gave up on me altogether, so... So back to refining the lighting on the fingers. And making them feel more rounded. They were a little bit too flat before. And brightening up these knuckles because these are too dark. Let's find the nail. I wasn't able to refine the nails quite as well in the previous stream because I was intentionally zooming out and keeping further away from the details. But this week I'm zoomed in further, so now is the time to refine the smaller detail. Just try and keep a broader perspective sort of thing by zooming out and remaining zoomed out for as long as possible so you can see the whole image and kind of work on it as a whole. Otherwise, if you zoom in too quickly, you can kind of get caught up in all the details and forget to or miss the fact that you've made some larger mistakes that you should really fix before you do the details. Let's lighten up the underside of these fingers here, because you've got the light that's bouncing off of the hands underneath, and it's catching the underside. We've got a lot more heat in the saturation. And the hue down here, I painted it too dark before. Again, I'm trying to paint in shapes rather than lines. Little blobs of paint. Just helps give it more life rather than over-rendering everything. to a pointed brush just to make that a little bit easier to paint. Get them all a little bit more precise. Sometimes it's a good idea to kind of refine things by painting what is around it. So rather than painting the lines, you can paint the areas to the side, either side of it. You can see I refined that sort of wrinkle bit there by painting to the side of it and brightening the area next to it. It was actually the area next to it that needed to be brightened rather than, you know, the wrinkle next to it needing to be darkened. So it can play tricks on you sometimes, and particularly if you're working in colour, you've got to deal with tonal values as well as saturation and hue at the same time. Not easy, particularly when you've got so many different things that you need to do at the same time. Lots of different elements distracting you. Like this bit needs to be lighter here, so trying to get this sort of the idea of looser skin around the knuckle here. Which is what happens when your fingers are straight. They kind of wrinkle more, and you get like a little depression in the middle of the skin, and then it kind of puckers up on either side. So I'm just trying to kind of capture that. But do it haphazardly, as if I haven't tried. Trying to make it look like it was, you know, effortless. get the highlight on the nail. Like a little triangle. That's going to be the brightest point. That reflection. Because it's a shiny surface. Smoother surface. So it's going to be, the highlight is going to be stronger than around the skin because the skin is duller. So always make sure you try to, compare textures and surface and think about how smooth they are, how reflective they are, and don't put the same brightness of reflection on a dull surface. There's no point in putting a white highlight like that along the whole finger because that wouldn't be the case. It would make the finger look shiny, which of course it isn't. If it were raining, then the whole hand would be shinier and it would be more reflective, but this isn't the case here, so just kind of pay attention to your materials, your textures, and be sparing with your brightest highlights. A little dark band in the middle there. And there's a little bit of warmth there because, like I said, the skin is kind of wrinkled up and the light is travelling through it because the bone isn't in the way, you see. The wrinkle's sitting on top, so there's a little bit of light travelling through it and it's making it glow just ever so slightly. let's move on to the next area. I'm going to work on this bit here. Lighten that up a bit because it's a little bit too dark. And just make sure these fingers are connecting properly to the main body of the hand. Carry on that underlighting there, which I'd started earlier. Just blend it out just a little bit. And this is quite a bit lighter there. And that will go all the way down. But first I just want to fix this bit up here. A little bit lighter there. You can see I quite like blending with the brush, like with paint, rather than, you know, smudge. Like, for example, some people would smudge or use some kind of blending tool to smear the paint that's already there. But I quite like to actually apply more paint and just get more refined. A little bit more light there. You can see I'm doing sort of little kind of vertical brush strokes there. I'm doing that because there's some texture, there's some skin texture that's sort of wrinkled in that direction, so I'm kind of using the bristles of the brush to start adding that texture in. And again, make it look haphazard rather than something that I've painstakingly contrived to do. Oh, we're getting there. Slower progress than I'd hoped. But never mind. I'm definitely putting in more effort. Because this is what it is. It's, you know, it's just a painting of some hands. It's not like a smaller element to a much larger picture. If it were, then there wouldn't be as much need to be as refined or as detailed as this. But it's quite a big picture, big canvas, so and you know, it's good practice at trying to paint knuckles and skin folds and stuff, which, you know, could be applied to other things as well. Bring this light further down the it's throwing the shape of the finger off, making it to look too sort of thin. And like I said earlier, a lot of light needs to come down here, which I had forgotten to paint in previously, so do it now. And this is all quite nicely blended here, like a nice pink peach colour that's bleeding into the cooler blue highlight that's shining down from above, so make sure I get that right. And again, these knuckles are way too dark, so let's fix that. You can see the bend in that finger now that I've brought the lighting down to the correct place. And again, like we did on this one, this is supposed to be lighter under here, so it's going to start bringing that in and then across there, because that's where the webbing of the between the fingers starts to attach itself to the hand, and then can put a little bit of a highlight there. Blend that in a bit. This finger down here is considerably darker than this one because it's kind of behind the other one there, so it's in the shadow a little bit more. Up to a smaller brush just to get that highlight there a little bit cleaner. There we go. Could also blend in more. So, gonna use some red. Right, before we get distracted, let's carry on with this finger here. Which is way too dark, yet again. If anyone's got any questions, do let me know. It is live, don't forget. I'll try and answer them. And this sort of light coming here with the subsurface scattering the light coming through the thinness of the skin is making it glow. We'll warm that up a bit. This is why I painted a lot of the shadows and the midtones a cooler green blue before, because I knew that we would have quite a strong light source in terms of that sort of golden yellowy orange colour. So the best way to build that up was to start from a darker, colder base tone and build up to the light. Thanks, Valdez. That's fine. You can do that if you wish. If you want to just, you know, chill, quietly watch. I have streamed before. I used to do a lot of streaming. Elsewhere, not on YouTube. And well used to people lurking at the back quietly. I tend to do that myself if I'm watching someone stream. I quite like quiet, chilled out streams rather than loud. But hopefully the commentary is somewhat useful. As I stumble my way through to figure out what I'm doing and try and look, you know, competent. Yes, I did. That is correct. I do have a channel over there, so and all of my streams are kind of archived over there, so if you wanted to check that out, you can. They're still there, available to watch. I'm not saying that I won't go back, but I'm just kind of testing things out on YouTube, really, to see what the difference is, and if any. And see what we prefer, you know. Finally bringing this nail to life. It looked like a brown dead nail before. And you can see that this orange bit here that I blobbed on earlier was it's actually the light that's catching the end of the finger. So the darker part of that nail is because the finger itself is blocking the light from going through the nail. But in this portion here, it's basically the overhang. The nail is overhanging the tip of the finger, and therefore it's thin there. So the light is able to pass through it. And there's the tip, there's the edge, the thin edge that's facing away from us, but it's catching the light. But hopefully you can see that realism or semi-realism doesn't depend on how detailed you are. You can still be painterly and have quite, you know, loose or texturous brushstrokes, and still capture a certain level of realism. Because, as I say, it's not about how detailed you are, in terms of how fine your details are. It's actually the correct tonal value and colour choice and lighting that really captures realism. If you want to see a master at that, then well, thank you for subscribing. The name has completely gone out of my head now. Sergeant, there we go. Check out Sergeant, which I'm sure you've heard of before. But he was a very loose, expressive painter. And he was actually somewhat criticised during his lifetime. And for being, too expressive with his brushstrokes and too sloppy. But it was much later that they kind of realised that actually he was onto something, and his expressive brushstrokes and all the movement that he was able to capture actually, when you stood back and looked at it, it all kind of merged together and created an image that was full of life, and actually a certain amount of realism. He knew exactly where to place the light source, and the highlights, and he was very meticulous about his colour choice. And it was those things, and knowing exactly where to put, a line or a stroke or whatever. And he was just able to create a very lifelike image that when you actually got closer to it, you realised just how sloppy and painterly it was. His work was a lot looser than mine. By design, he wanted it to be like that. And he's arguably a much, much better painter than I am. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. My commentary's like giving the ghost in your room a tour of your sketchbook. Yeah. Oh, I talk to myself all the time. So much so that I will sometimes ask myself the sort of question that someone might ask me about, my work or whatever, and then I'll answer it out loud and give you give the empty room a 5 to 10 minute commentary on whatever, which some might say is madness, but I say it's it's important. It's useful to. I find it useful to kind of put my thoughts together. Sometimes when you talk aloud and you talk to yourself, you can kind of make sense of your thoughts and ideas when you're actually talking to yourself about it, rather than having it locked inside your head all the time. But yeah, certainly with streaming and stuff, I used to do that a lot, just sort of talk to myself and hear my voice and get used to it and not hate it so much. And I guess get used to the way that you sound, and so that you can deliver better commentary and that sort of stuff. I did a couple of talks at my old school quite a few years ago now, but again, I did the same thing. I sort of figured out the sort of things that I thought the students would want to hear, and like the sort of information that they'd need to know, and I would kind of basically stand in my room and talk to myself about my art process and everything, and I found it helped when I did it for real, just practicing. Oh, I'm glad that my voice isn't, you know, fingernails on a chalkboard. Nobody likes the sound of their own voice, no? Blend out these little wrinkles. We've got into that point now where it's labour intensive. You know, when you get started on something, it's all kind of new and fresh, and you're kind of building things up, and you're getting kind of excited. You're like, oh, it's turning into something. It's happening. Something's happening. And like I say, it's a fresh idea as well. But now we've got to that point where I've really got to kind of figure out where everything needs to go and do all the fine details and poke things back and forth and see what looks good and what doesn't, and be methodical, which isn't as exciting. And the progress looks like it slows down. Because instead of painting in big, broad shapes and strokes that look impressive, you're making smaller brush strokes and smaller changes, but eventually it comes together and ends up looking like something. Let's add a little bit of darkness to the nail there. And smaller brush. Right. I'm trying to get into the habit of using the largest brush I can get away with for any given brush stroke. If you've got like a large area to fill, use a big brush. Don't make, 100 small brush strokes when you can do it in 10 larger ones. Within reason, kind of, with that mindset, you can try to get away from making your work look too tight and restrictive. Which I used to do a lot, so it certainly crept up on me. I didn't realise I was doing it until, 3-4 years ago. I was probably more aware of it than I kind of wanted to admit, to be honest, because it meant having to kind of unlearn certain things and trying to practice more and change my style a little bit. And I was like, oh, do I really want to go through that upheaval of changing things and unlearning and relearning? But yeah, I used to make things very, very detailed. And a lot of the time I wasn't 100% happy with it. And also it kind of felt like, who am I doing it for? Because no one can see those details. No one can see those fine details because, the image wasn't going to be printed particularly large anyway. So there isn't really a necessity to do that. To do all of the tiny details. And often, like I was saying earlier, I would end up over-rendering and rendering the life out of something, quite literally. And it would look less realistic the more detailed and refined I made it. And of course that could have just been error on my part, and that someone else could do the same thing and still manage to hold on to a sense of realism and energy and all that. But for me, I just kind of ended up making an image that looked a little bit too sterile. So I'm trying to actively unlearn that and be more painterly and enjoy that process and learn it as a habit, so that I do it naturally rather than having to kind of force myself to hold off. Know when to stop, I guess it would be. Would sum it up. But it's not easy, because you kind of I've always found it interesting to paint details. I've always found it interesting to kind of go, oh, that's an interesting little texture or something, I'll try and paint that. But then of course it gets out of hand, so and you end up filling your entire image with detail, which isn't necessary. It has definitely made me appreciate painters more, like older painters, famous painters, because whilst I liked their work before, I kind of just appreciate them more now, because I realise that their style didn't just happen. It was a choice. It was like a culmination of everything that they'd learned and all of the mistakes they'd made, and then kind of honed it and reined it back in and then perfected it. They would probably say that they hadn't perfected anything, and that they were probably their own worst critic, as is usually the case with all artists. But now that I've kind of acknowledged my own mistakes in what I was doing originally, mistakes, or I don't know, some people might like that older style that I was working with, or but it wasn't making me as happy as I would have liked. And but so acknowledging that, and saying, well, I've got to make a change. I've got to like I say, unpick the bad habits and relearn things, and actually be willing to do that. That can be tough. But I kind of did that during COVID. I think a lot of people did a bit of soul searching through being stuck indoors during COVID, and kind of thought about what was actually important to them, and changed a few habits here and there, I remember also buying a book. Well, I think it was gifted to me actually for my birthday. It was I forget the exact title, but it was one of Alan Lee's sketchbooks. I think it was his recent sketchbook. Alan Lee is one of the illustrators that worked on The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So Alan Lee and John Howe, two of my favourite contemporary painters, or artists. And I remember just looking at Alan Lee's sketchbook and thinking, I will never be able to draw like this. And because of all the designs he was doing, I think it was a page in it was like the Hobbit furniture, basically. It was the different styles of Hobbit furniture, and he was just effortlessly had drawn such beautiful designs of chairs and tables and wardrobes and plates and cutlery and all of this stuff, and it was just incredible work. And yeah, I just remember thinking, I will never be able to paint like this. I will never be able to draw like this. And kind of having a mini breakdown over it. It's getting like, oh wow, I've still, just a realisation that I still have a lot to learn. And yeah, it was a amazing book, but also was just a real eye-opener to just how much I didn't know and needed to work on. But I guess maybe that happens more when you actually genuinely idolise the artist that the work that you're looking at, But yeah, I guess the moral of the story is that, we all have more work to do, more learning to do. We never stop learning as artists, but there's always something that we can be improving and working on, and yeah, that will never change. And you just kind of have to, like I say, acknowledge it and get used to it, and realise that that's part of it, that's part of the point. If you're thinking that, oh, if I just practice hard enough, then I'll get good at something and then I'll feel better. Doesn't necessarily work like that, because you will get better, but you'll replace your ambitions with something new, with something fresh. You'll constantly be looking to step up to that next level, so there's always something that you'll be aspiring to be, and there'll always be something that you need to work on. There'll always be someone else or something that reminds you you've still got more to learn. Even despite how much you have learned, there's still a long way to go. There's still something else. And I think that that's definitely something that young artists need to kind of try and realise as quickly as possible, that you need to kind of get used to the fact that you'll always be critical of your own work, and you'll always be somewhat dissatisfied with it. You should allow yourself to enjoy your work and to like your work, but there will be a part of you that wishes it were better and wants to get better, because that's just a natural tendency for artists to be looking for the next thing, looking to improve. And we should, we should aspire to be better, we should aspire to get better, otherwise it would get boring. But yeah, I became kind of more content with my work and my place on the ladder, sort of thing, when I realised that I'll always feel like there'll be something new to learn, and you never really reach the finishing line, because you think, that there is some kind of finishing line. It's like, well, not really. You're always running. You never get to the end. You can enjoy it. You can have a great time doing it, but learn to enjoy the journey. Learn to enjoy the race itself rather than the goal at the end. I suppose that's a motto for life in general, really, isn't it? It can be very easy to forget that. To want everything now, to be impatient and stuff, and to want to finish a piece of work sooner, quicker, now. I want it done now. I'm bored now, Just have to train yourself to get out of that mindset as best you can, and methodically work towards finishing a painting or a drawing when it's finished, when it needs to be finished. If you've got the luxury of creating something in your own free time, so there's no deadline or anything like that, don't rush it. Let it happen in its own natural time. Because otherwise, if you rush something, you probably end up spoiling it. I'm guessing that comment probably says you don't speak English or you don't understand English. That's probably to the benefit, really. No, you don't want to know what I'm saying. Just imagine that I'm saying something really profound and interesting and entertaining, and we'll leave it like that, shall we? Rather than just, my madness unravelling live. That needs to be a bit blended there. I'm trying to blend but not over blend, and I'm pushing things back and forth, really. a little bit dark there in the middle. Right, let's move on to the knuckles down there. Yet more. If anyone is enjoying the music to the stream, then be sure to check the description, where I've linked all of the composers that feature in the playlist that I stream with. So give them some love. Not clickbait. I would never. Thumbnail is me looking shocked with an arrow pointing at whatever artwork I'm doing and an oversized paintbrush or something. Whatever the cool kids are doing these days. I was never cool when I was a kid, so there's a fat chance of that now. I was always representing the nerds proudly. Geeks and nerds in the corner. Ooh. A little bit more warmth there is required. Blend that in there. Went a little bit too green there. Same here, this needs to be warmer. You see, there'd be a tendency or an allure to make that brighter, to make it stronger. But contrast does not mean better. You know, something that's higher contrast does not make it a better image. Same thing as vibrancy. Highly saturated does not mean it's better. blend that a little bit further over. A little bit more orange. Good thing about these brushes that I've made is that I've been experimenting with the mixer brushes and playing around with the levels on them to adjust the amount of oiliness they have, how much blending ability they have, and you may have noticed when I'm using them, they push paint around. So it's basically giving a wet on wet effect, which is Sargent. Sargent became renowned for I can't remember whether he invented the wet on wet approach, probably not. But he became somewhat renowned for it. It's basically when you have wet paint on the canvas and then you put more wet paint into it, and it kind of drags the other parts of the paint around and mixes and blends, and you get a very loose effect, rather than, for example, painting one layer and then waiting for it to dry, and then painting another layer on top, waiting for that to dry, and then painting it. Sargent would just paint directly wet into wet, and he wouldn't let anything dry. He would just kind of keep going, sort of thing. So I'm kind of experimenting with my brushes to kind of give that effect, so that there's a little bit more of a wet, expressive, painterly feel. And I find it also helps me to not get bogged down in the details again, because using with these particular brushes, they resist getting too finely detailed, because the paint kind of moves things around, so I can't get minuscule microscopic detail. So it's helping me to not get carried away, and instead it's kind of replacing that with a nice sort of painterly, brushy feel, which actually looks good. It actually works. I'm kind of enjoying it. Maybe because I made them myself, but it's it's definitely helping me to loosen up my brush technique. A little bit of light there again underneath. You have to use the right tool for the job, sort of thing, so I thought, well, maybe learning to make my own brushes would actually be beneficial, because I will learn how to use Photoshop better and learn how to wield the brushes better, and I've made them myself. I have to learn how to change all the settings and all that, and rather than relying on somebody else's brush set and try and kind of learn, unengineer it, try and work out how to use the brushes from top down, make your own brushes from bottom up. And I found that I ended up making brushes that suited me really much better than anything I've downloaded before from someone else. But saying that, they are available. If anyone wants to try them, they're available on my website because, you know, I'm a brush hoarder just as much as everybody else, so save my work. I hope the stream quality is alright, because earlier we had an issue where I believe the bitrate was too high and it made my streaming software break and freeze up, and I had to go offline and redo it. And since then I changed it so that it was a little bit less less intense, less data basically, and slightly lower resolution, that sort of thing. So hopefully, so far, fingers crossed, my streaming software seems to like that better. But hopefully there hasn't been too much of a downgrade in quality on the actual streaming side of things for you watching. I'll have to take a look. Because the thing is, if you stream with too low bitrate, you start to get like artifacts sort of, and it can be distracting and annoying, and you don't see the details and stuff because it's too blurry or pixelated. Good, thank you for letting me know. But yeah, like I said, I'm new to streaming on YouTube, and it's a little bit different. The settings need to be somewhat different, and obviously it's a different provider, I guess. So just trying to work out the kinks and, you know, find that sweet spot that works. I have actually upgraded my internet probably about 6 months ago, so I haven't streamed since then really, so hopefully that means that, you know, I can stream with a higher bitrate, which means that the quality of this picture that you see is going to be better. Which is kind of important when it's an art stream, you know? Right, let's go back to what I was doing before I got distracted. Look at that nice red colour coming through. Really starts to make it glow and make it come to life, doesn't it? One of those juicy details that you're just kind of desperate to paint immediately. I want to do it now. I want to paint all the nice pretty light. But you have to be patient and build up to it. Start with the shadows, build it up gradually. Do all of the boring stuff first. to a pointy brush to get some of the wrinkles a little bit smoother, but with a bit more control. Needs to be a little bit darker there because the knuckle is thicker there, so it's not as doesn't let the light through as much, and it's also wider at that point. So whereas this one over here kind of got a little bit more space. A little bit warmer where the light's kind of creeping through the gap. It is bright. And the nail again, it should be a little bit brighter here, a little bit more saturated. And here's the very tip of the nail, the blunt edge of the nail, rather, just catching the bit there. I'm just going to leave it like that. You can see it's got a little bit of a messy edge to it. I'm going to leave that in so it looks bristly, you know. I do have a more refined brush for like details, but kind of only using it sparingly, and then it's to kind of correct sort of, you know, little details that I can't get to with a larger brush. Like I was saying, using the right size of brush for the biggest size brush for the job, and sometimes you do have to resort to the smaller one, the smallest one. A little bit lighter here, a little bit more yellowy, not quite so orange. Not hugely important to get these details so precise, I guess, but it's good practice to, you know, in observation, to actually see the change in the colours and the differences, and then act accordingly, whether you want to, put those details in or not. But those subtle changes in colour are always quite nice. But most of my streams here will be study streams. They won't be huge series like I used to do on another streaming platform. Those of you who don't know, I would stream like a big painting for like 30 live streams, would be dedicated to a single painting, and it would be a massive series sort of thing, undertaking sort of thing. And whilst that was fun, it was also quite stressful because I was streaming weekly, so I had to and I was streaming for about 4 or 5 hours every time, so I had to prepare the artwork every single week and make sure that I was ready to spend another 5 hours live working on it and make progress with it. It's no good sort of sitting there for 5 hours wondering what to do and poking things around and not really getting anywhere. I wanted to actually progress with it, and in order to do that I needed to fix the errors that I'd made in the previous live stream, and then prepare the artwork, make some progress and then prepare the artwork for the following week, which generally meant like doing more research, getting more references, that sort of thing, and like I say, fixing mistakes that I'd made previously. And that wasn't always practical when I was also doing my regular work as well, and it kind of ended up feeling like I was rushing all the time, and I didn't give myself enough time to kind of think things through. And sometimes I'd end up potentially spoiling an artwork, arguably, because I hadn't kind of given myself enough time to plan, because I was fixated with streaming every weekend sort of thing, and without fail, not that anyone would have minded or cared really, but for me it was just like I wanted to stick to that routine, and maybe I shouldn't have tackled quite such elaborate artwork live for everyone to watch and see. May have tried to bite off a little bit too much. Some of my larger pieces take up to about 100 hours to paint, so... And live streaming that is quite a lot. Right, we are getting there. We're just over the halfway point, actually. I mean, I did stream a little bit earlier, before it went wrong. But yeah, we're kind of just past the halfway point. we're a little bit behind schedule. I had hoped to have painted a little bit more by now, but we'll keep going. All of this needs to be warmer, orange. Let that light seep through the skin. Lovely sort of golden honey colour. And the underside here is warmer. It's not actually that much green under here at all. This is all a little bit too green, so warm that up a bit. And the reason for that is because the light is hitting the palm of the hand, the meat of the thumb on the hand below, and it's bouncing up and it's hitting the underside of the pinky finger. So it's a little bit warmer. Hi. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I hope everyone is having a good New Year so far. We're now 8 days in. How are we surviving so far? How's it going? Are we already sick of it? Have we already given up on 2024? Are we still optimistic? You have exams. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I quite enjoyed school. Yes. I was quite lucky. I was lucky with my friends and my school year I was in. We were all pretty ordinary, pretty decent people, really. Not too much drama. Hated maths though. Yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag with maths. I used to like the sums and the equations and like the writing like the numbers, and there was a methodical way, you know, process to all of that. But I was terrible at working it out, working it all out in your head, you know, and that sort of thing. I guess I find it difficult to see large numbers, like in my head. It just doesn't work for me. But then I like science, so I prefer biology and you know, that sort of thing. Physics. I like physics, like the experimental side of things, and like because I have to know a certain amount of physics to be able to paint. You know, you have to understand gravity and, you know, that kind of thing. Inertia, and in order to get sort of a feeling of movement in your poses and you know, that sort of thing, a centre of gravity and whatever. And chemistry, I enjoyed blowing things up. But I can't say I was particularly good at science. I guess I liked the playful side of it. And I liked, like I said, with biology, it's, you know, learning about human body and how things work again, because it plays into art again. Understanding how things move and it's nice when you know what you're doing. Well, we've made it this far, let's say. I'm not saying that I know what I'm doing. Stumbling forward in a hopeful expression. No, I think I've got things figured out much more. The thing with school is I wish that I was, you know, it's probably true of everyone, but I wish I was as confident as I am now back then, because I was very, very shy and quiet. Back then I would have never done a live stream. I would have never done anything like that. The thought of, you know, a spotlight being on me would have been not something I would have enjoyed at school. I wasn't a precocious child, you know. I wasn't full of myself, or, you know, I guess I was very aware of, I don't know, what other people might think, or, you know. Some people can be joyfully oblivious, and it kind of works in their benefit, because, you know, it gives them an inbuilt confidence, because they're just not aware necessarily. But I was painfully aware of my awkwardness, which was probably only evident to me, but, you know, the way you perceive yourself, that sort of thing. I can't even say that I particularly expressed myself through art either, really. I just enjoyed making a mess and painting stuff. I wasn't doing it to kind of like get my feelings out or anything like that. I was painting fantasy stuff, you know. and painting for the enjoyment of it and the process of it, and enjoyed, you know, making something look semi-realistic. I wasn't particularly good at school. I learnt my skills mainly when I left. Not that that was anything to do with my teachers. I'm not saying that my teachers were bad. They weren't. They were really good. It's just that my brain was not mature enough, or, you know, able to kind of grasp everything when I was young. Don't know what that is, but at the same time I was quite hardworking, so I was like the class swot sort of thing, you know. I always wanted to do well, I just wasn't necessarily capable of doing it. But yeah, I just did art because I loved creative things. Not because I was desperate to get my emotions out or anything like that. Hey Elijah. Have I tried Procreate? Yeah, I have tried it. Like I said. Do I? Oh, when I'm relaxing and outdoors, do I use it? No, I don't. Mainly because if I'm out and about, I try to not paint. I use that as time to not be working. But also because my iPad is one of the slower ones. It's not. In order to make it enjoyable to paint with, I would need to get a more expensive one that was faster and bigger. Because otherwise, you know, I don't like it when it's sluggish, and because you feel like you're wading through mud all the time, and you just want to get moving with it. So. What was the second half? Oh, the email about brushes. Yeah, there's no plans for a sale at the moment. My brushes at the moment are what they are. The price that they are. Because they're priced competitively, and they are priced in a way that is an accurate representation of how much effort went into making them. But saying that, if you check out my social media, there's a link on there that's to my. Well, actually, I can put it on. I can do it now. Give me a second. Where else? You go to here we are. There's a link in chat. So the link in chat is to my link tree, which has got all my various links on it. Surprise. But if you look down at the bottom, you can see that I've got Etsy. I've got my own shop. I've got Etsy. I've got QBrush, Gumroad, Design Cuts, and Creative Market. All of my brushes are available on all of those different platforms, some of which will have them on sale. So check in and see if there's any sales going on those different websites. I do know that I believe it's for the next 2 weeks, or like maybe next month, for the next 2 weeks. Creative Market are going to be including my brush set in a sale or some kind of promotional thing. So it's possible that there'll be a discount there. Have I ever retained my art? Oh, do you mean physically, as in have I got old sketchbooks and stuff? I think I do, somewhere in the roof, somewhere in the attic. I did throw out a lot of my old art, my old schoolwork, but I think I kept hold of a lot of the artwork that I did. All hideous, but I think I got rid of a fair amount of the uni work that I did, actually. I've probably got more of my schoolwork than I have my uni work. A lot of the uni work that I did in the latter years was like model making and stuff like that, so it was huge, like huge giant models and stuff, which I couldn't really hold on to because it's either fallen apart since then, because we are talking about 16 years, 15, 16 years, or I just hated it so much that I just threw it in the bin. I do keep all of my digital work though, so I did used to do sketchbooks during the summer though. Those are actually more interesting because they are just random little fantasy character type stuff and experiments and things that I was playing around with during the summer break between, you know, school and during my time at uni, when I probably should have been writing my essays, but instead I was kind of coming up with weird designs and things. I think I've probably still got it. It's probably in a box somewhere, but I might dig it out and see if I can share some of that. It's not too horrendous. I used to do a lot of sprites for games, for like little mock-up games in my head, sort of thing. I was like, oh, I'll do a little fantasy game that looks like Zelda or something, and it's all like 2D. And so I would like draw what the tile set would look like little bushes and grass and little cottages and little swords and things, and that was a big thing for me when I was younger. I thought I was into like Game Maker and making little sprites and things. I wasn't so great at making, like coding the games and stuff, but I liked making the art assets. Surprise. So I kind of was doodling that sort of stuff and dreaming all these little games that I kind of wanted to make, but I couldn't. Thing is, now I'd be more equipped now to be able to make them. I just don't have the time to make them because I'm busy painting things for other people, or, you know, trying to push my art career forward, that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have time to make little sprites and games. I should though, I should make time for it. Try to anyway. Who knows, probably more interesting, more popular on live streaming. Oh, it's good that you've still got got your work, that you liked it well enough that you framed it. It is important though, you know. Like the fact that I've still got most of my digital work. I've still, like, if you look in my portfolio on my website, like, most of the stuff is like 10 years old. Well, not like between like 5 and 10 years old. There's very few pieces in there that are recent because a lot of it hasn't been released yet by whoever commissioned it. Or it's just stuff that, you know, as I said last week, I've spent the past couple of years kind of relearning things about my art style, and I haven't really made a lot of personal work, and anything that I have been doing has been kind of happening quietly. There is a big painting that I'm working on currently. That I'm not ready to show yet because it's not finished. But I've kind of been quietly sort of making things, and in recent couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I look back on my older stuff and I still like it. I like it well enough to have it in my portfolio. But yeah, sometimes I look at my portfolio and go, oh, don't like that. Needs to be better. Look at all those mistakes I made in all of that artwork. That's a good thing. You can't see your mistakes, you should be worried. Right, still painting this tiny finger. For those of you who've just kind of recently popped into the stream, is that because you've only just got like an email notification from my YouTube channel, or did you just kind of like find me by accident, or is it just time-wise it's better for you now to be online? I'm trying to figure out like what the best time to stream is, that sort of thing. And I know that sometimes email notifications go out late and they don't happen straight away, so. Right, let's just add that bit there, and then we'll move on to the next hand, because otherwise I will literally spend the next half an hour to an hour poking this small finger around. That's a little bit grey there. blend that a little bit more. It was a little bit severe there. That. And a little bit more warmth there. Oh, okay. Because as many of you have probably figured out, I am from the UK, so I'm on UK time, which is currently 1:30 in the morning for me. I start streaming at 10:30 at night. And I've often found that live streaming later is more beneficial. Like sometimes when it's like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning in UK is kind of the best time, because all you Americans are home from work by then, or school. I mean, it is Sunday. This is also why I tend to stream on a Saturday or a Sunday, because, you know, people are more likely to be at home. But yeah, just trying to figure out when the best time to stream is. But of course, if I push it too late, then I'll be still here at like 4 in the morning, half asleep, going, oh. No one wants to see me sleep deprived. Brighten that up underneath there. It's quite dark here, this section, but it must be like 7 o'clock in the evening in the America. I know it varies depending East Coast, West Coast. Right, okay, so going well. not too bad. Actually, I should probably just, you know, paint that. Use a big brush and paint that a little bit better. Some more warmth going there. Kind of trying to blend it out into the background, really. I'm not decided on how much of the forearm to paint, basically. Hi everyone, so unfortunately my streaming software crashed for the second time tonight, which isn't great. So, but thankfully I've been streaming for about 2.5 hours and I'd got most of the work done that I wanted to do, so I feel it got to a natural point where I was able to close the stream down and just, you know, call it a night, rather than trying to come back again and potentially have more issues. That said, I will be back next week. Hopefully I will have ironed out all of the technical issues with the stream by then. So if you are interested in seeing the continuation and hopefully the conclusion of this little mini-series, I'll be working on the lower hand here next week, same time, next Sunday, at the same time. And yeah, so I hope you join me for that. As far as tonight was concerned, as we know, we worked on the top hand, and this is where we were at the beginning of the stream, and this is where we were at the end of the stream. So we managed to round out the forms a little bit more, refine the lighting, bring some of that sort of top light in stronger, and sort of tried to make sense of the knuckles and refined the nails as well. So yeah, it was good, you know, despite the technical issues. I was pretty pleased with how it was going. So hopefully more of the same next week. So and yeah, I'll finish off the artwork. So please do join me then. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think there were any more questions that I needed to answer before I got kicked off. So yeah, thank you very much for dealing with the technical issues. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed and want to see more, please subscribe and follow the channel. Click the notification bell so that you get a little message or an email letting you know when I'm streaming live next. And yeah, please consider supporting my work on Patreon if you like streams, if you want me to stream more, if you want you know, just to see more of my work in general and want to support it, then yeah, you can do no better than to support me through Patreon. Thank you very much if you do. For more artwork, commission information, art prints and digital brushes, then you can do that by visiting my website and also follow me on social media as well. All the links for all of that are in the description for you to check out. And yeah, thank you very much everyone for keeping me company. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And yeah, until next time, until next week, I hope to see you there. Until then, take care. See ya. Bye.